is a member state of the United Nations. For the past 8 years, we have made petition upon petition. None of our petition has made it into the United Nations.
It's important that you understand how the end of what you're starting looks like.
I'll make you hear and all that, but then hear them today fight from me. Surrender, say go for that, to do anything. They will they put the war crimes tribunal in place. They go prosecute you.
Salad, Hitler met with Goebbels, who urged the tyrant to reconsider and to escape instead. Hitler would not be moved, telling him, "You know my decision, I'm not going to change it." At that point, Hitler and Braun entered their private chambers for the final time. A shot rang out through the bunker, and Hitler was later discovered, bloodied and slumped over, with Braun by his side.
Guys, the best nation that we have seen on earth is America. America has proven itself over time in this generation. After the Roman Empire, I think America models a lot from the Romans, right, to build this great nation. And where you see, we call Europe today, that is all Roman Empire. Italy, Germany, France, Britain, all those nations were formerly Roman Empire. That was all Roman Empire, right? So America today is the greatest symbol of freedom, the greatest symbol of prosperity, the greatest symbol of human potential. That is what we see today. We have thousands of Cameroonians that live in America, and they've found this place to be home for them. They've had incredible opportunities that have transformed their lives because they made their way into this nation, America. If there is anything that we learn out of life, that you should model the successful among you, because the most successful among you, they have a lot to teach you. You might see what is going on, but you're not observing, right? There's a difference between seeing and observing. When you're observing, you're studying. America is a great nation. If you look at the makeup of America, the black people in this nation, not the Africans, the blacks in this nation, or what we call black Americans or African Americans, they came into this nation as slaves. They came here as slaves. After slavery came to an end, all of these individuals became free. They were free men. They never gave them a special state, that this is your state, or maybe this is a nation that will create for you as black people in America. They didn't do that. There's no state in America that you will say this state is for black people. Yes, there are states where it is predominantly black people, but there is no state that is owned by black people. Every state in this country is owned by Americans. Is this making sense? So why does America work? America works because of diversity. That regardless of what America has, it doesn't belong to any one group. It belongs to the United States of America. And that is fascinating to understand, that even if we are talking about federation in America, right? That state is made up of black people, white people, Asian people, different groups of people. And they are controlling whatever resources, they manage whatever resource they have within that state. But there is no specific state in America allocated for black people, even after the end of slavery and slave trade. In spite, there is no group in America that has been treated worse than the blacks that came here as slaves. So when you're talking about your marginalization in Cameroon, I just want to show you a stretch like what has happened in the best nation that have experienced maybe a story that is tragic, that when you look at the whole, the stories of slavery and slave trade, right, it's unbearable. when we talk about integration, the blacks in this country have integrated with the white community for a very long time compared to every or any other black group of people around the world. Right? And the beautiful thing about this is that this system works because regardless of where you find yourself in the United States of America, you abide under the law. And because of this diversity and people spreading everywhere, this integration, guess what? It is hard for you to even be marginalized by your own people. It is hard for you to be treated a certain way even by your own people. Like there are some people on the ground right now, they cannot speak. They've given you names like Black Leg. They've labeled you like a public. They've called you traitors, right? They said they've paid you. Because anyone who say they've paid me, I don't trust them. I don't trust anyone who will tell me that they have paid me. If you tell me that they have paid me, I don't trust you. You have something going on. Right? If you tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, I don't trust you. Right? That is the fallacy of ad hominem. The strategy is they criticize you by labeling you so that others don't pay attention to what you're saying. And I understand the strategy. It has worked in communication. And if you are not mindful of what they are doing, you might fall prey to that. It's called the fallacy of ad hominem. I've studied it. And so when they tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, I don't trust them. You get what I'm saying? I want to make it clear. This entire idea of war that we claim to be in is a very new concept to us at this level. The Anglophones have never stood up someday to orchestrate a war like this, to come back and say we have experience, so we've done it before. So everybody is watching this for the very first time. We are doing this for the very first time, right? You guys are in this war for the very first time. And maybe your great-grandparents, they participated in Second World War, First World War and all that. But in this generation, everyone is experimenting. But the strategy is some people who can articulate the history of that nation based on the narrative that they have and based on the agenda that they have. They will tell others that they don't know what they are talking about. You understand the logic? And the reality is everyone is experimenting, and that is the fact. And most individuals don't know what they're doing. Some may jump on a book or a conference or a seminar, listen to this video, or maybe read a book. Everyone is experimenting. But in the process of experimentation, which is a good thing, it's a good thing to experiment. There is a big term in Silicon Valley that says fail faster. So the whole idea is we are experimenting. And in a world where people are experimenting, the idea is that you don't really know what you're doing. And since you don't know what you're doing, try it and realize if it's working so that you can drop it and figure out what works so that you can continue on that path, right? But if people are radical ideologues that don't have the best interests of the people at heart, the pursuit of power is more important than the plight and the freedom of the people, you will see them getting stuck on a path that has failed. And they will label individuals like, you don't know how international law works, you don't understand how international politics work. They will say all those things. Even when you hear even from the mouth of white folks telling them this idea doesn't make sense, you dwelling on the past doesn't make sense, they will flip it around and keep inspiring you so you can stay fighting. And then they will disregard everyone claiming they know and others don't know.
Understand what the way they talk. Now, whether we take this conversation with him, because one prove him, because if I want to talk him, we not change sometimes. No, why are the conscious man? No, not for the only way to hear. The answers and proof for you clear. You don't understand what it go on. Make a finish with it.
When there is a war, there is aggression and violence on both sides. Cameroon is a member state of the United Nations. For the past 8 years, we have made petition upon petition. None of our petition has made it into the United Nations. The only reason we have had the opportunity to secure an invitation to the United Nations is because we have demonstrated that we are not in hostility. We don't want to be in hostility with a member state of the United Nations. Whether Cameroon Cameroon attack us or not, once there is a war going on, aggression goes on, the international community is interested in how to alleviate the humanitarian crisis in a just and sustainable manner.
You see, I don't even want to take a lot of your time. I don't want to take a lot of your time, bro. No, listen, I don't want to take a lot of your time. I just wanted to make this clarification to you. You see that right from this point, you are so mixed up on all of this concept. Don't even grab what you are talking about. When you look at this communique that I brought to you to ask you to confirm whether you are the one that wrote it.
I repeat, there is no Anglophone that has had experience in any war, because we have not had that kind of history of war for someone to emerge and say, I fought a war and so I have this experience in fighting war. I've been a general and I've had this experience being a general at war. There is no Anglophone with that pedigree. So all of them are experimenting. And some of you might be knowledgeable than some of these leaders, but because they are fluent, they are articulate, you might perceive they know better than you, but they don't. Because when they started, most of them knew nothing. And some of the great ideas that have helped them to move forward came from you. Telling them this, what you need to do, this, what you need to do. If they are smart, they listen and they take action and then they make progress. So one thing I just want to say is regarding the whole idea of individuals coming up with quotes, motivating you is very basic, right? When we look at global icons, we talk of Nelson Mandela. We talk of Oprah Winfrey. We talk of Martin Luther King. Global icons. These individuals are known for one thing: uniting people. They, or maybe Abraham Lincoln, that ended slavery in America. These individuals are celebrated globally because of the idea of unity. That is one common denominator. Their objective is to unite people. And I'm saying, if you want a better Cameroon, we need to unite and integrate. Don't try to keep black people in one corner all by themselves, especially given the fact that we had diverse experiences with our colonial masters. The best solution is integration. We need more French people in the Anglophone zone, and we need more Anglophones in the Francophone zone. This kind of integration will save you as an Anglophone or save you as a Francophone in that country. In America here, you cannot cook up any plan. You cannot just manipulate people here, because different groups of people live in this community. And so you cannot just come together and come up with a plan to maybe disrupt the country or disrupt the state, and people go along with that. That is the beauty of America. This country is super wealthy, is the richest nation because of this strategy. They've understood how to bring in different people and have them spread around. And because of that idea, guess what? People are not just stuck with their own groups. And so they cannot just come up with any scheme and sway people to a direction. For you to set up a plan in America and succeed, you should be extremely strong. It is easy to manipulate the Anglophones. It's easy to manipulate the Francophones. We need more integration in this country like never before. To hell with all this legacy from the colonial masters, right? We will take what works, integrate the nation. Integrate the nation, integrate the resources. Because the truth is, when we have more Francophones come over to the Anglophone zones and some Anglophones go over to the Francophone zone, and we have this mixture, guess what? If you want to talk about managing resources, those who live in that region should manage the resources. And it will be made up of the individuals that live in that area. That is what makes America work. There are black people here in Texas. There are Asian people here in Texas. There are Africans here in Texas. The same with Maryland. The same with DC. The same with California. The same with New York. The same with Delaware. It's the same system. It works for a reason. And we should not look at any other nation on earth except this nation, America. America has worked. And if you come in and you want to choose the best player, are you going to choose the A or the B or the C? I will go for the A players. I want to learn from the A players. America is the A player as of now in the world. And if there's any idea that I will bring to Cameroon, it's from this nation. Point blank. I mean, like, that's it. China chose this nation. At the time China started, Japan was almost close to America. But China saw the way Americans did things. China did not copy their brother, Japan. China said, I will follow America. And as America stretched, China is second. Strategy. And that is exactly how I plan for us cooperatively to build Cameroon, block by block. But it will start with decentralization. The whole idea in America is that you don't have a predominant group of people controlling a particular state, right? Yes, you might say there are some states that are predominantly white or predominantly black, but the reality is you will find you'll find a black person in almost every state in this country. You find a white person in almost every state in this country. That diversity, that integration is what makes this nation works. So now, progress or a job that you get to have is based on competence and not based on the color of your skin. It's not based on race. It's based on what you know. And I find that fascinating. And that is exactly what we should emulate. Another thing I want to say, and then I'll let you guys go. Some people come up with quotes and they keep motivating you and they tell you you're on the right side and, oh, you're going somewhere and all of that. It takes time, but we're going to get there. If anyone is saying that to you, like, oh, we are just starting the war. No, you guys, people have died. If you say we are just starting, I don't trust you. Don't trust anyone who say they are still in stage one when they have pulled up their best shots. And I want to let you know, unity is everything. And when people were united, it doesn't matter if they had sophisticated weapons or not. But when people are disunited, you can have the best weapons and still fail. And that is why I said a group of sheep led by a lion will always defeat a group of lions led by a sheep. Every time. When you have this fragmented leadership, it is a group of lions. Yes, we are strong, but you are led by a sheep. Everyone always thinks they are right. God is on their side. That is the perspective of everyone. Like when you see even a soccer game, the two teams coming together, each of those teams believe that God is on their side. And then when you see one team lose the game and one win the game, you ask yourself the question, was God not on the side of the other team? That is a good question to ask, right? Everyone always thinks that God is on their side. And I want to say most of our people, since it's a learning process for all of them, right? Some of them have taken the time to study how wars end and some of them have not. Right? But it's important that you understand how the end of what you're starting looks like. Right? I want to show you a quote right here. This is exactly what Hitler believed about himself. Right? He says, who says I'm not under the special protection of God? That is Hitler asking that question. Right? Because you must find a way to see yourself as though God is on your side. When you're starting whatever movement, you should persuade yourself to the extent that you think God is on your side. But this man shot himself on the head and could not bear the humiliation that he would receive from other communities. But that is the story of Hitler, right? You always believe. And for those who think, oh, who started the war? They are the one who waged the war. That when I hear that, I understand that these individuals don't understand what they are talking about. If you study who started the first World War, it doesn't really matter. It's who lost and who gets to tell the history.
To threat, if you don't get bone for your skin, you will fall. Because one they will tell you, say, you be there for air. The last time, no, we will follow you. You be say make they garage some people in their hands. You be talk say make them do this for this person. You be talk say make them round up some people and then kill them. You be talk say make them do this and that. If you don't start talk positive now for we now, if you don't start talk say make these things stop, oh yeah, you will go war tribunal. When the war end, you go war tribunal. My brothers, my sisters, make am clear for your mind. Not to know the way you go absolve you of your crimes because you don't surrender to the Republic du Cameroon. Not to know go absolve you of those crimes. Capo, I make you hear and all that, but then hear them today fight from me. Surrender, say go for that to do anything. The day when they put the war crimes tribunal in place, they go prosecute you. Straight up, they go prosecute you. May be clear for every person in mind.
Affecting those in the underground bomb shelter more so than the death of Eva Braun. On April 30th, 1945, and with Allied forces advancing, Adolf Hitler decided the time had come for himself and his wife to follow through on their plan to kill themselves, rather than face possible capture by Allied forces. Around noon on that day, Hitler told Bormann, "The time has come. Fraulein Braun and I will end our lives this afternoon." After eating his final salad, Hitler met with Goebbels, who urged the tyrant to reconsider and to escape instead. Hitler would not be moved, telling him, "You know my decision. I'm not going to change it." At that point, Hitler and Braun entered their private chambers for the final time. A shot rang out through the bunker, and Hitler was later discovered, bloodied and side. History says that their bodies were cremated in the Chancellery Garden per Hitler's wishes. Also keeping with Hitler's final will and testament, Goebbels was named Chancellor in Hitler's stead, but Goebbels too would die by suicide along with his family. As predicted, Berlin fell to the Allies with an unconditional surrender from the Germans 8 days later, and one of the worst moments in world history had finally come to a close.
Right? You be judged if you lost. That is, the person who wins get to tell the story and define your destiny. That's the fact. So when you say, "Oh, who started it? Oh, it's self-defense." No, when you are exchanging weapons, when it changed from the teachers and the lawyers, it was not the teachers and the lawyers that are defending themselves. Now it was a movement called Ambazonia defending itself, right? So at the end of the day, they'll be judging this case based on the war. It is not based on who started it. Because when I hear people say, "Oh, who started it?" No. And these people will go back and forth in their living rooms in the night, thinking about their lives, reading this book or reading this quote, going through some documentaries, trying to have perspective so they can motivate you to remain relevant. It's a tough place where they find themselves. I guarantee you that. And Hitler believed that God was on his side. National socialism was his concept. National socialism. That is what he advocated for. He believed that God was on his side. And another quote that I want you to take a look at, because this is how we learn, right? We are learning Anglophones. I mean, like, if you look at our evolution and you look at other nations, you can tell they are advanced. It's not just that kind of a thing where we just come together and say we are smart. No, when you look at other nations, we are growing. I want to always accept that I'm growing. Those who think they know, and so they're trying to downplay maybe the knowledge of others, I look at them and I'm like, good luck with that. Let me see how far you go with that. But I'm willing to learn. There are other nations. If you look at the vehicles they produce, you look at the technology they've produced, you look at how much money they have, you look at everything that they've produced, we have to accept we are growing. That is a good place to start. So look at another quote. This is what Hitler says. If you tell a big lie, right? If you tell a big enough lie, he didn't just say a big lie. If you tell a big enough lie and tell it frequently enough, it will be believed. I want to repeat that again. If you tell a big enough lie and tell it frequently enough, it will be believed. And that is what Hitler did to the German people. He told them they were that special and they got it all together and they are the special race chosen by God. And so they deserve to do what they are doing. It was national socialism, right? That was what he advocated for. So I've studied most of these concepts and looking at some of the motivations behind this movement and everything. People will tell you, oh, it is self-protection, it's colonization. You can name it, but I know the motivation, the power-driven individual behind those ideas, right? He says, if you wish the sympathy of the broad masses, you must tell them the crudest and most stupid things. And that is exactly what Hitler did. He told his people all sorts of crazy things. And mind you, the Germans were extremely smart. For Hitler to make this kind of statement indicates that he believed that he could pull this off and get away with it. But at the end of the day, Hitler shot himself. So what is the end of it? Hitler was motivating his people to the last day that he shot himself. One of the things you understand is, in a movement like this, individuals will lead this movement, even when they see defeat. They will never accept it because they know their fate. Take into consideration somebody like Seseko Ayoktabe. They gave him a life sentence, right? When the war was not at this level. And then imagine that the war is where it is today. All these leaders, if they give up, what do you think will be the end for them? Something worse than what happened to Seseko Ayoktabe. And they are conscious about that. You fighting, you on the ground, just wanting to have a good life, wanting to build a family, just want equal opportunities in that country. You, this individual in the community, you have no clue about what is going on in the mind of the leader. They are worried about their lives. They are worried about their safety. They are human beings like you. They have blood running in their veins. Right? They go to the restroom, they do everything like every other human being. And so definitely, let me tell you guys, you got to study some of these historical characters to understand what is happening. Right? Hitler was in pain to the extent where he had doctors around him. They would give him drugs to stay up and drugs to go to bed at night because he could not sleep. And when you've been involved in something like this, that is what life looks like for you. You can play it off in the media, but underneath, there's terror, there's pain, there's confusion, there's frustration, there's regret. You're second guessing yourself. And that is why I came up with this whole idea of CSDP, because people think that because they started a war, they win. Nah. Many people have lost many wars. Hitler had more motivating words than you guys have. And he motivated his people to his death. He had beautiful words to help them understand that they are on track, that they are right, that what they are doing will work. Hitler did that. So it didn't mean like Hitler went on every day to tell his people, oh, we are going to fail, or we are wrong, or we are on the wrong side of history. That is not what Hitler did. He went on every day to inspire the people, to let them know they were on track. But as these young people continue to die, that is why I came up with CSDP. Understanding that we can get to a place where we find a solution to this problem. I've talked to young people on the ground, and they told me that because because if you're looking at the media, most of the people running the media live in the diaspora, right? So they don't understand what is going on the ground. It's just based on what they are told, or if they align that with their vision and how they want to push the struggle. That is what directs the struggle. But if you, like the people on the ground, they've told me there's a 1% chance of the Ambazonians winning this war. 1%. These are smart individuals on the ground. They've studied history extensively. They are observing what is happening. They said there is a 1% chance of the Ambazonians winning. And they said, forget about what you see on media. I mean, the people on the ground, this is what they are saying to me. The very mere fact that there is a DDR camp, guys, the DDR camp is made up of fellow Anglophones that were former Amba fighters that are being rehabilitated through the DDR camp to go back into the bush and rescue some of those boys, or those who don't want to surrender, they get them killed. That is the story, guys. Many wars have ended just because of a movement like this that emerged within that war. And so this is, this is real. You got to understand that there are some points in life you got to accept defeat, right? You got to say, like, I get it. But if you're smart enough, You might not just keep motivating people till you feel like you commit suicide or die, because we understand how the stories end, or you're captured, like Nnamdi Kanu in Nigeria with the Biafra movement. And I'm just saying this is how the end looks like. But there are better ways that you can go about things, or even get restored back into that nation. Hopefully, because that is what I'm pushing for, that we can help even reconcile the nation and move forward. I know for a fact that there are others that will keep telling you, don't listen to anyone that is saying what I'm saying, so that you guys should keep doing what I'm doing. But I've studied the end of it. Ask them, have you studied the end of this? If everything goes wrong, what direction do you think this will lead to? Ask that question to your leaders, because you should always think about that. Starting a business, you should always think about that in running a family. You should always think about that in running a country. You should ask, if everything goes wrong, which direction will this train go to? You should always have an exit plan, right? That is why you don't make a vehicle and say you won't put a seat belt. There's always a seat belt. It doesn't mean you're going to have accident every day. Should in case an accident happen, are you going to be safe? It is very important. So I just wanted to help you understand that Hitler had good motivation speeches. He would come up every day with good quotes, good words to inspire his people, tell them God was on his side. Now, CSDP is for Francophones and Anglophones, right? Cameroonians were Anglophones and Francophones coming together for economic prosperity. That is what I'm pushing for, right? There's a saying that, so this quote is coming from Fowler. He says, if you want to teach people a new way of thinking, don't bother trying to teach them. Instead, give them a new tool to use, of which will lead to new ways of thinking. So you give people new tools, and the new tool I'm giving our people is books that can transform their minds, their ways of thinking, ways of running businesses, to become like the Jewish people that have been extremely successful in every nation, regardless of who is president. How to cooperate and build businesses, build corporations. America is run by corporations. Everyone that lives in America knows that. It's not just the president. America is run by big business. And they know this, right? So, guys, my hope is that those who have gone astray be restored in that nation. That is my hope. No matter what, they be restored. That is, as a clergy, I have love for these people in spite of what they've gone through. But if you want to join a movement like this, study the consequences. Study the end. How does the end looks like if everything goes wrong? If they tell you nothing will ever go wrong, run away, because something will always go wrong. That is why Jesus said, in this world you will have tribulations. You will. They will come. The young man called Sargon that just passed away, I remember making a video when he was beefing with another brother, and I'm like, this is time for you to reflect on your life. And where is he? He's gone. And they said, oh, write your name in a history book. You won't get to see that history book, right? Your family and friends will probably get to tell the story. But the reality is that people cannot use historical events to justify war, justify fighting. If somebody hits me or they fight me, we know this growing up. If somebody hits you, it doesn't necessarily mean you retaliate, right? There are other ways to go about it. And that's the simple meaning of they hit this chick, you turn the other cheek. You're like, no, but why should I do that? But that's the reality. That's the reality. Sometimes you got to turn the other cheek. It doesn't make you stupid. It makes you wise. Because as you push, you should ask yourself the question, if I go to this direction, what will the end look like? Study consequences. We are an evolving group of people. I know we had our independence 1960 of recent. We've had Cameroonians traveling out of the country, and we are growing, right? We are growing as a nation. We are getting to understand what international politics is. We are getting to understand, even with doctorate degree, doesn't excuses you, right? You're still learning. And there is some thinking that it doesn't matter the degree you have. There is an evolutionary process that you go through as a human being, and it's going to be hard if you haven't adopted certain ways of believing at a particular age. It might be hard for you to adopt new ways of thinking. And I understand that primate thinking that you can get rid of, no matter how hard you try, right? There are others that are open-minded, that might think clearly and get out of that very fast. But predominantly, majority of individuals that have harnessed a particular way of thinking will end up going into their graves with that way of thinking. And it's for you to understand, observe it, and take a different path. You must not hate them. You must not fight them. You just observe, and then you take a different direction. So this is what Carl Jung says. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. So when you're looking at the outside, you can dream because it's based on what you see. But when you look inside, you as a human being, not an Anglophone or a Francophone or whatever they call you, or Ambazonia, whatever. When you look inside yourself, who God made you to be, outside of your group, you are awakened. And with that, you can even help the group better. But if you're looking outside, looking at resources, looking at things around you, and you let it create your sense of reality, you are a dreamer. He said, he who looks inside is awakened. I even know Carl Jung's story, very crazy story, but I don't want to get into that right now. But what I want to help you understand is, it is time for every Cameroonian who speaks French and English to look inside. The link to join our group, to start studying for yourself, because I want you as an individual to be free, not the group. You that have come across this knowledge, come across this video, to be transformed. Because as you are transformed, that is how the nation gets transformed. That is how you get to tell the story. That's how you get to help others have perspective based on how they see the world. The world works a certain way. And those who get to understand that, it's not about vocabularies. It's not about you knowing how to speak eloquently, or you assuming a special status among people and thinking that because of that, it makes you special, right? It's about you understanding how the world works, right? So I would like to end on this note. Elon Musk says, failure is an option here. If things are not fading, you are not innovating. So to fail is an option. It doesn't justify your existence. But when you fail, you should understand what has just happened to you, learn, and move forward. That is why Silicon Valley says fail faster, so that you can find what works and follow that path. To stay on one direction, there are multiple wars that have failed in history than wars that have succeeded. And I want to let our people know that. And all the people fighting that war, irrespective of who started the war, most of those individuals always believed that God was on their side and it was a just cause. They had all sorts of historical references to keep them motivated so that they can keep fighting. And I want to let you know, many wars have been lost than wars that were won by the individuals who thought that they had a just cause. And those who lost get to listen to those who won, write the history. That is just a food for thought for our people. Because if everybody has been telling you you will win, it is very important that someone like me tell you you could lose. And what will you do if you understand that you will lose? It is important to think about that side. Everybody should not be on this direction thinking that you are righteous and you will win and God is on your side. Until next time, guys, I hope this video has been insightful. Go ahead and share it. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video. My number's right on the screen. Reach out. I would love to have, interesting conversations with people who want to think and move forward, right? And how to build a more inclusive society, a more integrated Cameroon, because that is what we are going for. Everyone in that nation moving together as one single unit. If possible, we encourage immigrants coming into our nation with great ideas, people from different nations. I hope that someday we have white folks living in Cameroon. We have Asian folks living in Cameroon. We have people from different nations living in Cameroon, and understanding that they will come in with their ideas and their experiences, and through that integration, that is how we'll make progress faster, and it'll be hard to destroy that kind of community. Because when we are all by ourselves, it is easy for us to be manipulated, misled by one of us, or for you to lose your property, lose your house. You see what I'm saying? It's not about building the things, because if you are all in one spot all by yourself, it is dangerous. Especially black folks, given our history. I don't encourage black folks to live in the nation all by themselves. That's why we have all the corruption. We have all the manipulation. We have all the backwardness and everything that is going wrong in our community. America has proven to us that a more integrated society like this, with every race of people on earth in that nation, works. And that is what I hope to see Cameroon become in the nearest future. Remain blessed. All right, if you like this video, you're gonna like this other episode, and you can watch it by clicking right here.